So today's episode, we're going to be talking about a Lear 36 crash that happened in San Diego on the 9th of September. This is an interesting one because it wasn't actually a private jet flight, even though the private jet was being used. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about military contracting because this is what this was all about. And this is an interesting one. Private jets are used for military contracting as well. And I've done some myself. So if you haven't subscribed to BizJet TV, lots of content here about business aviation. So subscribe, have a whiz round. Look at the almost 500 videos now on BizJet TV, all about private aviation and lots more to do with aviation and also space and that on here. My name's Fabrizio Poli, I'm your aviation advisor. So let's get into today's episode. So Lear 36, operated by a company called GH Equipment. They had a contract with the US Navy. They were flying out of North Island NAS Halsey Airfield in San Diego. They took off, the weather wasn't too good. They flew around over the ocean doing figure eights for just under an hour and then came in for landing. Now the runway is an 8,000 foot runway, so it's nice and long, a long runway for a Lear 36, so there's plenty of space for this aircraft to land. So did they come in high? Did they come in fast? And is that why they overshot the runway? Not sure about this one because they were on an electronic warfare exercise on behalf of the US Navy. So we're not sure what this exercise entailed. So maybe crashing the airplane at the end of the runway was part of the exercise. Maybe the electronic warfare interfered with the instruments on board, making this airplane crash. We're not quite sure. But, you know, the airplane crashed at the end of the runway. Pilots managed to get out. Airplane's still pretty much intact. So, you know, it didn't blow up or anything like that. So it may have been an intentional crash. We're not quite sure. There's not much information out there as far as the investigation is concerned. And because this was under a government contract, we probably won't see much released about this. But let me just go into government contracting because this is an interesting one. Now, from time to time, private jets are used by governments and they're used by the military to transport personnel. Also for, you can modify them and put different radars and that on these airplanes and fly them around. And because they look like a private jet, you don't know that it's got all this fancy equipment inside, and not many people know and can recognize certain radars that may be put on the belly or on top of the airplane and that as these things fly around. So there's a lot of this government contracting going on. There's also a number of private air forces called Ad Air or Adversary Air, and Jared Isaacman, he actually created one a few years ago called Draken International, and they operate over 60 to 70 fighter jets. They went out and bought all these jets. They got contracts with the US Navy and US Air Force to fly Adversary Air. So they would buy all these different fighter jets from different countries, including MiGs, MiG-29s, Saabs, and Hawks and all sorts of things. And they would fly and act as the enemy for the US military as they were training. And the reason that this has happened is because the US military have downsized over time, and consequently they didn't have enough of their own airplanes to act as an adversary, and they wanted to fly against different types of airplanes. And so a number of these companies exist today doing this government contracting, and it's very, very lucrative as well. Whether you're flying fighter jets or you're flying a Lear 36 or a Global Express or a G550 for the government, you can make almost 3 to 4 times more than you would be making if you were doing straight normal charter. So, and these aircraft are operated in also remote areas of the world. A lot of the operations they do are, private, quiet, secret, whatever you want to call it. But, this does happen. So if you're thinking of buying some private jets and getting some government contracts, that could be a way to go because it's very, very lucrative. You can make some good money doing that. And it's not just the US government that contract out private jets. It's also other governments around the world that do this and have been doing this for a number of years. So that's my take on this incident here, on this Lear 36 that crashed. The Lear 36 is an older aircraft. Lears are a bit tricky to handle and to fly. But I don't think that that's what played into this accident. I think this is just to do with the type of operation they were doing. But, you post below what you think. Let's get the comments going. I'd love to hear from you. And remember to subscribe to BizJet TV and check out this other video that I did. Lots more content on here. And check out the playlist about the different aircraft that you can buy. And if you want to reach out to me, we can have a one-to-one conversation because on BizJet TV, I can only give out general information. If you want to get specific, let's get specific. Ping me an email and we'll get on a call and we'll come up with a strategy for your business jet travel. And that's all from Fabrizio Poli on BizJet TV, and I'll see you on the next one.